I'm Melanie Keita. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Melanin Capital.
Hey, it's Kellen, and today on Diversified Game, I have all the way from Germany, but she is French Congolese. Let's get it right because we were having some German jokes that we won't be sharing. I have Miss Melanie from Melanin Capital, and she's going to give us the game on how she's impacting African entrepreneurs on the continent and around the world. Melanie, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Hi, Kellen. Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing great. Thank you very much.
Well, tell us all about Melanin Capital. Why did you start this, a little over a year ago? And what is the purpose and the mission of this great business?
Yeah, sure. So basically, it all started in 2019. I was with one of my very good friends from Kenya, Ian Minjire, and we were both stuck in Frankfurt, which, as you know, can have its pros and cons. But we were kind of a bit bored at the time and like dreaming of actually having a contribution back in our home countries. Ian is born and bred in Kenya, in Nairobi, and myself, I grew up in France, but I have all my family back in Congo, Mali, and Senegal. And what we wanted is just to have like a way to contribute to change back home. And we were far, so we knew that we couldn't do much, but we knew people that were on the ground, like inspiring entrepreneurs that were changing the world every day. And we thought that we could use at least our skill, our network, and our expertise to help them to get to the next level. So we met, like founders that were doing amazing things. Like currently, we're supporting one of them on our social media platform. You may have seen her, Bethlehem and Bethlehem, two Ethiopian entrepreneurs that are actually producing a paper pulp without using trees and just using agricultural waste and turning it into paper. And when we see that kind of inspiration, like we want to know what do they need to make their dream come true. And for Zafri, particularly for this company, they needed capital, and they needed access to other partners. So that's what we have been working with them, linking them to corporates in the paper industry that would want to be greener, or to foundations internationally, and finally helping them in their crowdfunding campaign, which is happening right now. And other entrepreneurs, we realized they needed knowledge and expertise to basically build a business that would be eligible for investors. And that's what we decided to basically provide. So at Melanin Capital, we say that we educate, we advise, connect, and finance. So our role is basically to come at all the stage of an early stage company on the African continent, bringing them knowledge about impact investing and how to raise from impact investors through our academy. Then bringing them capacity through our startup lab, where we help them to become investor ready, and then bring them connections them to angel investors and impact investors and corporates to help them build traction and get to the next level. We're now even building our own funds to be able to put the money where our mouth is and really support the entrepreneurs with this great social impact potential to get to the next level. So that's all about what we do at Melanin Capital.
And you mentioned, in that some former guests that we have had, that, correct me if I'm wrong, that paper is tree free. So no trees were harmed in making that paper. I remember that in the interview. So yes, I've had her as a guest and have bothered her after that as well, because I just love I love the drive, and I love when young people, especially women, are doing their thing on the continent, because we know, a generation ago it was difficult, and 2 generations ago it was even more. I mean, you had to be, such a radical. So I love that. Now, so people don't bombard you with emails, let's walk them down how you work. Because I too work with African entrepreneurs who need money, but a lot of times African entrepreneurs and American or Canadian entrepreneurs, it's the same thing. When they're looking for angels or venture capital, they have no clue what they need. So when they come to you, they start saying, oh, great idea, best idea, give me 100,000 and I'll show you. But they don't even have step two. Step one is the idea, but then it's step 2 or 3. So what are the steps for someone to reach out to you? And, you know, you guys finance the majority of the projects, because what I heard is you connect and then you can finance some of the projects, but give more of the game on that so people don't just look at you like a genie. And if they rub your bottle, you'll make all the dreams come true.
Exactly. No, totally. And thanks for that question. So basically, we have now digitized 100% of our process. So I'll be able to also share with you the link where people can come into our platform and follow this step-by-step process. So first, of course, we ask a very small questionnaire to understand a bit where you are in your idea, because as you said really rightly, there's a lot of entrepreneurs that come to us with an idea, but you need more than an idea. You need a pitch deck, you need at least a business concept, you need to have shown that your idea is actually feasible, that it generates revenues, that it generates social impact to your community. So we need to understand that and understand where do you position yourself in that process. So we first have this very simple form where you explain to us a bit where you are with your business and where you submit your documents. Once we have a first assessment, then we are able to see whether you need to work more on your idea and maybe go through our fundraising masterclasses through the academy, where we teach you more about the requirements that are necessary for you to get to the next level. Because an investor, when they would look at your project, they would need to tick their own boxes. And this is what we will basically, the knowledge that we will provide during our masterclass. Once, if we see that your business is more advanced and you already have managed to generate quite a significant amount of revenues, but you are still a bit stuck in this in-between of I'm generating maybe 20, 30,000 US dollars a year, but to get to the 100,000 or 200,000, I would need like maybe a partner that will have a significant amount of clients. I would need to have more communities using my products. So then we help you through the lab and we help you through like a series of advisory sessions to build your documentation and get access to corporate partners. So we really go through your whole pitch deck, your procedures, your organigram, your financials, your models, to make sure that at least you have these foundations that are very strong, and you can improve that foundation through partnerships and more traction. And if you've already skipped all that phases, then this is where we can actually show you to investors, to foundations, and to angels for them to have a deeper look, and they will literally dissect all your company, go through a full due diligence to see if they can come individually or as a syndicate of investors. And for that, this is then the connect part, where we connect you into our club, and we have different roadshows that we organize. We, of course, organize pitch events or demo days, if you prefer. And this is where when we know that your foundations are strong, we feel very comfortable showing you to our network. And that's pretty much the whole process so far.
So, and you guys, just keep in mind, listening, it's educate, advise, and connect. Go to their beautiful website. Links are in the description, whether you are listening or you are watching. I know more of you are listening than there are watchers, but you never know when that could change. But we appreciate you all. Now, what do you find to be the number one mistake that majority of entrepreneurs who come to you, have? And let me just say, make it more clear of a vision of what I'm trying to get to. I've had people who have, supposedly great jobs on the continent, business people. They give you a 20, 30 page pitch deck. That's not a pitch deck. I'm not reading that. Or they will, get on hard times and then call you and say, hey, I need airfare to get home. Hey, bro, I don't know you like that. You're a business guy. Call your cousins, call your uncles. We all have them, right? What are the mistakes people come to you? Because once you open up and say, I can help you with money, and especially on the continent, it's almost like people just assume that you can solve all their problems. And a lot of people think that once you do connect them with money, they can go build their big house before they can go build their business. And that happens whether you're in Africa, Canada, America. People just think, they see Shark Tank, they see Lion's Den, and they say, oh, I'm rich because they gave me $1 million, not knowing that $1 million in America, it's not a lot. So, but it's different on the continent. So, what are the biggest mistakes and misconceptions, misunderstandings you've seen new entrepreneurs have?
I would say that the biggest mistake is that they want to come for funding before even building a revenue generating business in the first place. So a lot of entrepreneurs, they're very disappointed because they've discussed to people that they know are working in the World Bank or working in an infrastructure fund, those big funds that really have billions, and you think that you're going to pitch to them and they will give you money because they have so much money, right? But they completely forget that first, this is not the job of these funds. Those funds are working on different mandates and different projects that are not smaller entrepreneurs. That's the work of angels and foundations to work on that. And they forget that if they cannot show an investor that if they put their money into your business, you're going to generate 20, 50, 60% return. I don't know what kind of return this investor is looking for. Like literally, there's no one that will come with that kind of capital if they don't understand what kind of return they can get out of it. And I understand the frustration of entrepreneurs. They say, yeah, but for me to generate revenues, I need first to have money to be able to have employees and scale up. And I understand this frustration, but you need to showcase that with your idea, you can actually already sustain yourself, sustain the few employees you have, and then this capital will be injected for you to go exponentially and then get even more revenues coming in so that you'll be able to then give it back to your investors with a margin. And I think personally, that's what I realized, that a lot of entrepreneurs are going too fast into asking for money before bootstrapping and actually trying to generate those revenues that will be attractive. And that has a double problem, because even if you go too soon to get an investor, the investor will try to put the value of your company down. He will try to buy you for cheaper. So you have all the interest in the world to make sure that your business is as attractive as possible, so that when an investor comes in, you can say, yes, I'm happy to get you in my capital, but this is the value of my company and I'm not willing to negotiate so much because we have already showed this traction, this partnership, this kind of response for our market, and we're very comfortable that we can find someone else if you don't take at that price.
I tell people business is a lot like dating, because if you don't show yourself to be of a high value, and now that's a word that goes through the internet so loosely, if you're not high value or equally yoked, you are going to have someone date you or get in business with you who thinks they're doing you a favor. So you're always at a low level and not at an equal playing field. So you're having to, put up with stuff that you shouldn't have to put up with. Now, you are, you've had Forbes 30 under 30 mentions. And I know that being a young woman, I'm just going to throw it out there, being a young woman from Europe, who also is of lighter skin, when you are doing business, it can either be, in your favor or a disadvantage, the woman thing and the lighter skin. So I'm sure people say, are you really from here? You know, and those are things, everybody coming back or for the first time to the continent, you know, you're welcomed, but if you stay long enough, you'll understand that you are going to be different. So how have you managed that, you know, with your journey into going to Africa and doing business with old African pals who, you know, sometimes don't even know how to use the internet and don't respect the degrees and the accommodations and accolades, I should say, that you have gotten?
I have to say, like, you know, I'm a Hafi, so I've always had like the problem of being from nowhere, I would say, and I try to make it in another way that I am from everywhere. I am but actually from France, from Mali, from Congo, but yeah, it's true that in that business, it's not always easy, but I would tend to say that the response that I had from African entrepreneurs was always very, very positive. You know, like I've had a harder time trying to integrate into the European market as a financial professional than I would ever have in Africa. This is something that I'm sure about, and also because in my career, I worked in Germany, in France, and I worked in Kenya, and really that was two different worlds, I would say. So for me, like, especially also because I have the great chance to have my co-founder who is born, bred in Kenya and knows very, very well the Kenyan market. I've never had any problem working, at least in East Africa, and even with the other entrepreneurs in other African countries, because they appreciate the fact that I have a foot in both continents, because there's so much that they can do also in Africa. There's so much investors they can also tap into, but then working with Melanin Capital, they can also reach out to a whole bunch of investors from Northern Europe, and they really appreciate that perspective, especially if they have also this internationalization perspective. So I would say, like, on the color thing, in the African continent, I felt always much more at home, and also because that's my passion, that's my drive, that's really a choice that I had since I'm very young, that I always wanted to work on the continent, to go back home at some point, to build my life, the rest of my half of life back in Africa. That then when I actually fulfilled my dream and worked there, I had a very positive response, and it really confirms to me every day that that's the choice I want to pursue. On the women aspect, I have a very complex relationships to that, because I've always I feel very comfortable in being a woman and leading a company, and I never apologize for it. And everyone that doesn't take me in consideration or seriously, I just go my way, because there's a lot actually of people that today have understood that empowering women to be fund managers, to be leaders of companies is actually the future, and is actually really important for our continent. So we had the chance to work with amazing partners. I'm thinking, for example, of Absa Bank, which is our partner for our next program, investment readiness program, and with whom we've worked a lot to develop our capacity building lab. They have worked there with the head of CSR. She's a woman herself, and she has at her core the motivation to support women and to make sure that we can have more women-led businesses on the continent. So for me, I know that there's a huge issue still of a lack of women entrepreneurs and women fund managers on the continent. But I am, and also in Europe, by the way, but I am just trying to get in my focus and make sure that we work with those that don't have that kind of mindset and are willing to see us grow to then empower more entrepreneurs.
No, that's awesome. I love it. I love it. I love it. And, you know, for those who don't understand the color question, even myself going to South Africa many moons ago, they said, oh, you could be a colored. And I said, huh? I could be a colored. And I was like, really? I've never been called like light skinned, but that I saw the difference between how even the coloreds, how they would engage. And I was with another friend who he's like, I'm considered a colored as well. And we can play both sides if we want. And I'm like, huh, okay. So, there's still that. As an American, we typically don't understand that. We're like, black is black, because we have the 1% rule here due to, history and, slavery, which people always hear about, and the Jim Crow laws and all that good stuff that we wish we could get reparations for. We're fighting, right? But you're doing a lot of good work. What is a community give back? Because your whole business could be a give back, but you want to make money, and we're going to get into that as well. But what is a community give back that you want to do or that you're doing right now?
The community give back. Do you mean like what is the diasporan community? How is the diasporan community involved or with our activities, for instance?
Well, whatever it is, for all I know, for every investment you guys do or client you take, you give something else to the community. But it's a difficult question for you because your whole thing is giving back and connecting. But I just want to know, is there anything maybe you haven't mentioned or that we can't see on the website to say, we are doing this, or we plan on doing this in the future?
So yes, maybe like on the planning for sure. Like we are planning currently to raise our first funds, and so this is a huge endeavor, I would say, because our idea is really to make a fund where not only institutional investors could invest, but also private investors in the diaspora community and in the African community would be able to pitch in, to be able to be part of our journey of united African change makers and supporting social entrepreneurs back on the continent. And this is something that is very important for us because having worked in the investment space for a while, like there's a lot of international funds that are looking at investing on the African continent, and this is a good thing, but we need more also locals and diasporans getting into the investment space and creating wealth while having an impact back home and an impact in Africa in general, even if it's not your home in the first place. And this is a plan that we have for the third quarter and the fourth quarter 2021. So we are currently building the structuration, and we'll be fundraising starting in September. So this is something that we are working in the background, and that definitely would be happy to spread the word, because we will need support at that time from every African enthusiast, I would say.
Well, break down how Melanin Kapital, makes their money or plans, or how they make their money, because, venture funds, they can take whatever percentage that, they create if you want to take their money. But a lot of times, people ask myself, because of the work that I do even here, I want to invest in Africa. I want to give some money in Africa. So I've created sites like mallofafrica.africa, where people can see investments we've vetted and some that we're invested in. But there needs to be more for every level, because I like to focus on the micro investments, because I know most Americans don't eat, they're one paycheck away from being broke. But, instead of them going to Starbucks every day, if they took that money for, a month or 3 months and put it into Africa, it could slowly grow into something which would then have them add more money. Because if they could make $100 a month by just investing, I bet you they do 2, 3, or when the stimulus checks came, something that, Africa did not get, they would have took their stimulus check, put it into something, and like, whoa, I'm making $3,000 a month with investing my money. In America, it doesn't mean much, but in Africa, I could go live off that money and my family could be very nice, house help and drivers and all that. So what type of, money can Melanin Capital make to give the listener or the audience an idea to say, well, if I come in on these investments, if they're making, 5%, at least maybe I could make 0.5%. Like, are you able to break that down? I know that's a confusing question and I don't want to get all up in your pocketbook, but I also want people to know you're in this to make money. This is not a nonprofit. So when they come to you and you say, look, I need X percentage of your company, they're not shocked, like you're the problem.
No, I fully understand. I appreciate that you emphasize on the fact that this is not non-profit. That's definitely a for-profit business, because we wanted to get also a bit away from the aid narrative. Of course, we collaborate also with the Development Corporation on programs that are more like on a philanthropic basis, I would say, and where we really focus on providing like knowledge and capacity building. But when it comes to really making startups grow through capital, most funds work pretty much the same, right? So it's a venture capital fund where you have limited partners and Melanin Capital as the general partner. And the idea is that when we invest in companies, we invest at a certain price. And after a given amount of time, so 3, 4, 5 years, then we're able to sell those companies to another investor. And this is how the profit is made. So to give you some examples, like we can sell some companies 2 times or 3 times the price that we invested in the first place. And this is the kind of return that we can give our investors. So if you've put 50,000 euro in our funds, and then you exit, our fund closes in the next 5 to 7 years, then our role will to give you the highest return possible from the investments that we've done on the continent. So far, of course, there's very few funds that will tell you outright the kind of returns they can give you, but the norm in the private equity space on the African continent that I've seen is usually around 15% return, which is much higher than anything you can get at the bank at the moment. At least in Europe, our savings accounts are have much lower rates. But that being said, you have to measure the fact that investing in a fund is riskier, and this is why the premium is coming in there. Like, if you put the money in a bank, you may get 0.5% or 1%. Like, that's the rates mostly in France. It's below 1%, but at least you're sure that you'll get back your money. But in a fund, it is not 100% guaranteed. So that's basically the play out here. So of course, our processes and the way that we invest in the funds and every venture capital will show you basically all the documentation and all the processes that will make you more comfortable to put your money and see that, okay, there is always the factor of luck and bad luck, but at least given the way that those people are selecting their companies, making the due diligence, assessing the risk and supporting the companies to grow, I believe that I will be able to give the 50,000 to 100,000 to then be able to, for those entrepreneurs to be financed. And I expect a return, of course, that will be generating after 5, 6, 7 years.
Okay. And so, you talk about 15% return. Does Melanin Capital take, typically it can be 25 to 50% DC wants, and I know you have to leave something on the table to sell it back, but is there an average that you guys take? And I'm stressing that because I've met entrepreneurs who think they are on Lion's Den or Shark Tank and say, I'm only going to give up 5%. And I'm saying, and you're only going to get a no, because that's not enough. So
definitely.
I want people to know from you, this is probably how much you're going to have to at least start to give up to be able to get help?
In terms of the capital, for us, we are always we aim at, because we are still building the fund, but we are planning to be a minority shareholder, which means, of course, we'll get less than 50%. But an ideal spot scenario is more between 15% to 30%. That's what we call a significant minority, and where you can actually ask for a board seat and really advise the company on its operations, and also then by advising and being part of the operations of the company and the strategy of the company, you can also ensure to your investors that you have hands-on their investments, that you make sure that the company progresses in a way that brings them return. So yes, definitely you're right. Like 5% would be it basically depends also on the model, but at seed stage, where we are planning to come in as seed stage or pre-series A, yeah, we would look at higher shares of capital.
And you guys are really getting the game. And Melanie also has a YouTube channel that she interviews entrepreneurs. And so if you say, I have a great idea, you know, that might be the first step to say, well, let me show you through the interview, and that I can raise your numbers up even on the YouTube to get her excited about, you know, your business, because you guys have some great ideas out there. They just need people like Melanin Capital to capitalize and take it to the next level. With unity, we all win. Melanie, what is something you'd like to leave the people with?
Well, I would like to say that definitely the time for Africa is now, and like we've been going through different phases. I remember when my dad we were starting to discuss back in 2008, 2009. Like we used to have like Africa seen as the doomed continent, and as the continent of poverty, corruption, and pollution. But today, this is completely different. Africa is the land of opportunities, where we can see startups like Flutterwave being the first unicorn on the African continent and being valued billions of dollars. And this is the time for us also, the community that is from the diaspora, from Africa directly, to get involved and to also support change in our continent, not in a way of like donations only or philanthropy only, but in a way that really build productive ideas and take productive ideas to the next level. So I would say that the time is to unite together and really power for social change back in Africa. Thank you so much again for having me, Kellen.
Well, I thank you for coming on, and I thank you for acknowledging great things like Flutterwave. There's so many, mobile money and processing things that are needed on the continent and even in the Caribbean. It's harder to send money to Jamaica than it is to send it to Kenya or Cameroon. So you guys have been blessed by the game. We're going to take it offline, but make sure you check out Melanin Capital. Links are in the description box, no matter where you are in the world. You be blessed.
Hi everyone. Have you ever been curious about visiting Africa? Which African country were you interested in? Kenya, Nigeria, Uganda, South Africa, Ethiopia? Which country are you interested in? My good friend, Kellen Cash Coleman, came up with a course called My First Trip to Africa that'll guide you through this process. It's only $20, and in this course you'll learn about passports, visas, vaccinations that you need before you go there, as well as a budget, how much the trip is going to cost. He also talks about what you should pack, what you should take with you, how you should travel on a budget. Did you know that $100 is worth 1,000 South African rand and over 10,000 Kenyan shillings? So imagine what you can do with $100 back home. I say back home because I'm from Sudan, I'm African, I already know how it's like. I know that, when you convert Canadian and American money, it goes a long way when you're traveling across Africa. So if you're curious, if Africa is a place that you've always wanted to go, always wanted to move there, Kellen Cash is the person to ask. Check out the course. There's a little preview you can listen to before you actually purchase it. If you're interested in this course, visit www.diversifiedgame.com. Don't miss out.